When we think of Africa, the image that often comes to mind is one of poor, starving children or a place rich in raw natural resources that can be exploited. But they provide a very incomplete picture of Africa.
This is the new face of the 21st century farmer. The clothes that you're wearing today, it's cotton that has been farmed by the farmer. The shoes that you're wearing, that's leather that comes from the cows that your farmer has.
It's been 200 years since the United States opened its first consulate in sub-Saharan Africa. Throughout the history of Africa's tribes and kingdoms, there is also a common and recurring theme of female warriors who exhibited a sense of collectiveness and intense militarism. Africa's first spaceport opened in 1964 near Malindi, Kenya. In 1970, the first satellite specifically for X-ray astronomy, Uhuru, was launched from Kenya. Why CodeWiz? How did it come about?
I've always had a passion for working with kids, and I've always had a passion for business.
Harvard's Global Health Catalyst Program, which was started by my guest, Dr. Wilfred Ngwa, to bridge the healthcare gap in low and middle income countries. Welcome to Africa to You. I'm Vivian Kopsinger-Birchall, your host, and my guest is His Excellency Ambassador Carlos Dos Santos, the Ambassador of Mozambique to the United States. Welcome to the show, Ambassador.
Thank you very much, Vivian. Thank you for having me.
It's always a pleasure hosting you. So how long have you served in the diplomatic corps, and specifically in this position, and what is your role?
Well, I am a career diplomat, so I've been in the diplomatic service of Mozambique for more than 30 years, and I have been in the United States this time since 2015, so 5.5 years. I also was in New York previously from 96 to 2002, so I've been in the United States for 6 years before this.
Well, it is Black History Month, obviously, February in the United States. So what does this month mean to you as an African ambassador to the United States?
I believe this is a special moment for all Black people in the United States, but also on the continent of Africa and around the world, because we all know that the origin of Black people is the African continent. So for me, as an African ambassador here, it is a very special moment of reflection about the past, the present, and the future of the continent. And we have to think about what we do and what we can do, and learning from the past, what we have done, to see how best we can improve our contribution to this country, to the continent of Africa, and to Blacks everywhere.
So let's get into a bit of history. What historical events connect Mozambique to American history?
Well, there may be a number of things that connect Mozambique to the United States, and historians will probably have tons of them. But the ones that come to mind are two. One, way back in 1794, I should say, there was this shipwreck, which was just discovered in 2010 in the South African waters. It is a ship that was bringing 400 slaves from, it was a Portuguese slave trader ship, and it was bringing slaves to the continent of the Americas. It is said it was probably to Brazil. But that shows that there have been slave trade contacts between Mozambique and this region of the world. That ship didn't reach destination because it sunk in the waters of South Africa. And the important thing about this and the connection to the United States is that some of the evidence collected by American and African researchers, some of that evidence is now at the museum, Smithsonian Museum of African American History and Culture. And it's there for everyone to see this connection between Mozambique and Africa as a whole and the United States. I also know that on the side of Angolans, for instance, even today you find Angolan families here or descendants of Angolans here, and they came to the United States during the slave trade, and they still have those connections. I have not yet found Mozambicans with that kind of connection, but we know that there was a connection. The second one has to do with the man who is part of the history of creating a Mozambican nation, an independent country, and that is Eduardo Mondlane. He came to the United States to study, I believe, political science and anthropology at Oberlin College, Northwestern University. And when he got his PhD, he then went on to teach at Syracuse University. And he then joined the United Nations as an international worker there. And he was working on decolonization. And he also learned about what was going, and he was already conscious of what he wanted to do, because many years later, he returned to Africa, directly to Tanzania, where three movements from Mozambique were trying to liberate Mozambique from Portuguese colonialism. He was the one who joined these three movements and formed what is until today known as Frelimo, which stands for Liberation Front for Mozambique. And Frelimo fought for independence, and we got independence in 1975. It was through his leadership and his capacity to unite that we were able to have that liberation struggle supported by the international community, by Africa. And he married an American lady who is still alive in Mozambique. He passed on during the liberation struggle in 1969, but she lives on, and three of his children are in Mozambique. One of them, a lady, is a minister in government for gender and social affairs. Another one, another lady is a musician. She's in the arts, and she sings jazz as well because she lived here for many years, and she studied at the same university as her father at Oberlin College. And then the firstborn is a son who is called Eduardo Mondlane Jr. He is a businessman, and he is working in the oil and gas sector and high finance. And he lives in Mozambique and London. So they continue to be involved. So this is a very strong link that was created then by history. And of course, now we have a different kind of relationship that we can talk about.
Do you want to speak to that?
Oh, yes. The United States and Mozambique established diplomatic relations in 1975, the year of independence from Portugal. Yeah. And it started as a basic cooperation, diplomatic cooperation with a strong humanitarian emphasis. But a few years later, This was transformed into a full-fledged development cooperation with very significant amounts of funding from the United States, such that today the United States is the single largest bilateral donor for Mozambique development programs, about $400 million a year, more than that. And the focus is mainly on health, but it includes other areas like private sector development, doing business environment, creating capacities in Mozambique, agriculture, and other areas. But the relationship is also excellent at political level, where we have interactions at the highest level with the presidents, the heads of state, interacting with each other, and at ministerial level, our parliamentarians with Congress here, we have exchanged visits between the two. We are also working on relations between Mozambique and specific states that we find that they have comparative advantages for cooperation. Here I can mention one example, for instance, Miami-Dade County. We have started a collaboration between the two cities, Maputo City, our capital, and Miami-Dade County. And the mayor of Maputo visited Miami in December 2019, and he signed an MOU with the mayor of Miami-Dade County to begin collaboration. You may ask why Miami? Because Miami and Maputo share a lot in common. They are coastal cities. They have ports, international ports, and they're tourism destination, but at different levels. As you know, Miami is internationally renowned for cruise ships and other kind of tourism, but coastal tourism is very well developed. And Maputo wants to develop those capacities in collaboration with Miami, but also how you manage cruise ship management, how you manage tourism as a whole, as an enterprise, and using standards that you find in Miami and elsewhere here in the United States. So we work with different states to explore possibilities of collaboration. We also like to promote people-to-people exchanges, academic exchanges, and we have some good ones going on.
Speaking of academic exchanges, our first meeting was at a Global Health Summit.
Yes, indeed.
So how is Mozambique working with the scientists, the scientific community or research community in the United States to collaboratively?
Well, I do remember that after my visit to you over there at Harvard, I did recommend that some form of collaboration starts. So your delegation did go to Maputo for the conference that happened the following year, and some initial discussions happened, but I must confess I have not gotten a progress report on what has happened thus far. Most probably not much because of all the other things that have been happening now. Even the Miami collaboration that I was talking about was impacted by COVID. We were supposed to have a delegation going to Mozambique from Miami-Dade, and it didn't go. But these are collaborations that I want to continue to promote. Right. We also have one collaboration that I can mention now with Maryland University, which will train young women engineers to perfect their capacities to also enable them to have specialized training for the oil and gas industry. This was an initiative by one of the companies that works with Mozambique in oil and gas. And they created a foundation called Duayen out of Houston. And they just started this program, and they did some exams and some interviews, and they have selected 3 as the first Duayans. Duayan mean dean. So they want to make them these wonderful young women deans of their art, their engineering capacities. So this is something that I cherish very much. I've been working with this new foundation to develop it.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify that the delegation was not my delegation. I was there in the capacity of media at the summit, but
yes, I know. When I say your delegation, I mean Harvard University medical school. Yes.
So I look forward. I'm still where I work collaboratively with them, and it's an amazing experience. So, in what ways would you say the African diaspora has contributed to the United States?
Well, I think the African diaspora has contributed in every way you can think of. From the beginning of the building of this nation, it is true that all of them were slaves when they came here, but very early on, they contributed to the building of the United States as a nation. But then over the years, they have been in all areas of development, be it academic, scientific, medical field. I have met architects, engineers, people in the most diverse kind of endeavor, in the arts, in the entertainment industry, in sports. You can find African diaspora there. And when we talk about African diaspora, we may want to have division. But if you bring African Americans together with those Africans who came afterwards, those who are from the Caribbean, who are also here, you will see that they have impacted the development of this country hugely. And we are not only thinking of scientists, we are also thinking of people working in nursing, in other areas of endeavor, day-to-day work around this country. You will find them. And I think they have contributed a lot, and they continue to contribute.
Oh, yeah. I'm excited about the diaspora. It's getting more and more engaged in the development of not just the US, but also the continent of Africa. What advice, I guess before I get into that, I just wanted to mention that Massachusetts has the largest population, speaking of diaspora, of Cabo Verdeans outside of Cabo Verde. And in 2019, the First Lady of Cabo Verde came here to fundraise for Mozambique after the hurricane. So
Yeah.
What is the historical relationship between Cabo Verde and Mozambique?
Well, a very strong one. It's a historical relations that dates back to the times of Portuguese colonialism. As you know, both Mozambique and Cape Verde were colonized by Portugal. And 3 other countries in Africa, Angola, Guinea-Bissau, and São Tomé and Príncipe. And the leaders that fought for independence in Mozambique and Cape Verde were working together with their brothers and sisters from Angola, São Tomé and Príncipe, and Guinea-Bissau to coordinate their action to liberate the countries. Because many of them had been moving around. I mean, many Mozambicans, many Angolans, many Cape Verdeans had been moving around, moved by the Portuguese. Cape Verdeans were good at clerical work. We had them in Mozambique, and Mozambicans were working in the fields, in plantations and things like that. There was a bond that was created then among the people of Cape Verde and Mozambique. And I was privileged to actually be at the event in 2019 that the First Lady of Cape Verde hosted for two reasons. One, because she invited me as the ambassador of Mozambique. She said, I want my ambassador to be there. And she says, my ambassador, because of the second reason. She was born in Mozambique. Her father is Mozambican. He was a politician and a lawyer. And she moved to Cabo Verde because she married the president of Cape Verde before he became president, of course. But she then became the first lady. And she was mobilizing support for the people of Beira who were victims of this devastating cyclone called Idai. And it destroyed a huge part of the city. And it so happens that she was born there because the father was from there and he worked there. And she wanted to give her own contribution. So she started a movement back in Cabo Verde, but then she also worked with the community over there in Boston. And they organized this event, which was a fundraiser with a cultural gala with Cape Verdeans, artists, musicians, including one Mozambican who also lives in Boston. They participated and the community was there. So I was one ambassador and then the Cape Verdean ambassador here to the United States and the Cape Verdean ambassador to the United Nations. We were three ambassadors in that event. It was a unique and a special event for all of us, and we appreciated the way she showed such concern and using her convening power to mobilize support for Mozambique.
Yeah, that was excellent. So what do you say the relationship is, or how are you tapping into the Mozambican diaspora to give back to the community or to the country, Mozambique?
Well, we work, it's part of our mandate as an embassy of Mozambique to the United States to work with the Mozambican community here in the United States. And that means providing consular assistance, whatever they need in terms of documents, passports. We just started at the end of last year to produce or to capture data, biometric data, to issue passports and IDs from here for the Mozambican community to facilitate their stay here. But we also work with them and encourage them to get involved with Mozambique. Some of them do visit Mozambique regularly, others not, but they are willing to work with us to develop projects of humanitarian nature, philanthropic nature, but also some of them are looking at doing business back in Mozambique. We are also working with some on the academic side to get them involved with academic institutions in the country. So we are trying to avail ourselves of this high-level capacity that they have from this country. Some of them have done well here, and they can make a significant contribution to the country. And some of them are already doing it. And we hope this will continue. And at the level of the African Union, we work together with our brothers and sisters, the ambassadors, to promote greater unity, greater coherence, and work in concert to make sure that the diaspora can be more effective. As you may know, the African Union has decided that diaspora is a constituency of Africa, and the African Union should engage them, should involve them. The organization may not be optimal, but we seek to make sure that we get that involvement of the diaspora with the continent.
Excellent. There's the last question that is was a surprise to me. How did Swahili become one of the native languages spoken in Mozambique?
Oh, okay. Well, with Swahili or Kiswahili, because I understand Swahili means literally coastline or coast.
Yes.
And Kiswahili is the language spoken by the people who live along the coast. So it is part of the Bantu languages that exist around the region of East Africa. And Kiswahili developed, I think, from the DRC, and then went to different places, Kenya, Tanzania, and northern Mozambique, which borders Tanzania. So the Makonde tribe, which is the one tribe that produces sculptures with ebony, black wood, and they actually produce this in Mozambique, but they also migrated back to Tanzania and to Kenya, so you can find them there. These are the people who have a language similar to Kiswahili, and they speak Swahili as well. It so happens that that part of Mozambique is close to Tanzania, and they speak Swahili, and they have spoken over the years. Our current president, His Excellency Philip Nyusi, speaks excellent Kiswahili because he's from that tribe, Makonde tribe, and also because he lived in Tanzania as a son of a freedom fighter. So he speaks excellent Kiswahili, and I always envy him when he is speaking it, and Tanzanians and Kenyans smile when he's speaking. And he has very good friends and good relationships with the presidents of Kenya and Tanzania and other leaders.
Kiswahili?
Sorry?
Unasema Kiswahili?
No, I don't, because I'm from southern Mozambique.
Okay.
And Maputo province. And we speak a language called Shangaan or Ronga. They are similar. They are spoken also across the border in South Africa.
Yeah.
So if you speak Shangaan, we can speak in Shangaan. But, not I only know Abari. Abariaku, yes. Yes, indeed.
Well, it's been a pleasure as always hosting you for this Africa to You episode on Black History Month. I hope that I can host you again to give us updates on what your embassy is doing, and also about what's going on the continent of Africa. Like you said, we need to find avenues of letting the diaspora know what's happening. So
yes, indeed. Thank you very much, Vivian, for having me, and I will always be available to speak with you whenever you deem it fit. And thank you again for having me.
If you have any questions about Africa, or you want to be a guest on Africa to You, just write to us at africatoyou.vivian@gmail.com. Again, it's africatoyou.vivian@gmail.com. Thank you for watching Africa to You. Till next time.